Hey everybody, welcome back to this group's video, and we're gonna, like last week, kind of talk through what we're discussing this week in groups, and we have a couple questions to ask and things like that. But I want to kind of recap what we've been talking about. We're in this series called Why, where we're asking and answering the big questions. And so last week we talked about why we believe God is even real, and so that was a really great conversation. I heard awesome things coming from that. And so this week we're talking about another interesting topic that I'm really excited about what's going to happen from it. But the topic is, why is the Bible so restrictive? And if you've already kind of answered that question in your head, we can ask it in a different way. Why are there guidelines or rules in the Bible? Why does God have certain things in front of us as guiding lights or whatever it might be? And so actually we're going to start with that question. So maybe talk about this with your group for the next couple minutes, is why are there guidelines, rules, restrictions, whatever you want to call them, or in Old Testament language, why is there a law? Why are there things in front of us like that God sets before us? And what is the whole point of that? So go ahead and talk about that for the next couple minutes. Why are there guidelines or rules in the Bible? Ready, set, go. And we're back. Hopefully that was a good conversation starter, something fun to talk about. And so now we kind of have an interesting question that I would love for us to discuss together and for you to discuss with your small group. And so the question is, and I think it's relevant, especially living in the good old United States of America, but let's talk about this. What is freedom? I know that's a loaded question, kind of like last week when we talked about give your best case for God, but I want you to discuss what do you actually think freedom is? What is your definition of freedom, and how does that play out in your life? So just don't go any further than that. I just want a simple, or you can go a little bit longer than that, but just a question of what is freedom, and answer that question right now in your groups, and we'll see you on the other side. All right, and we're back. So hopefully you guys had some good answers. A lot of you probably had the same answers, but some of you might have come up with something interesting and different. So here's the next question that I'm interested for us to talk about, and that's kind of the whole point of the message on Sunday, is why are those guidelines, rules, or whatever you want to call them, those kind of road signs in the Bible, why are those actually freeing rather than actually being restrictive? And so the first question we asked was, why is the Bible so restrictive? We actually got to the point where we think it's not restrictive, it's actually freeing. And so why are rules, guidelines, or things like that, why are they actually freeing when it comes to God? So maybe discuss that for the next couple minutes. And if you have a hard time discussing it, I'll let you on a little hint. If you skip forward in this video, I'm going to give an example of what I mean by all this. But go ahead and try and discuss it on your own, and then catch me at the end of this video. Okay, so if you've come to this part of the video, it's because you're interested in knowing a little bit more about that big question at the end, is how is God's rules, regulations, whatever you want to call them, guidelines, why are they freeing? Or you might have just left the YouTube video on and now you're here and you're about to learn something interesting. So here's an example I have for you. So let's do something. Can me and you play a game, or everybody in your small group? You're watching me on the screen, but let's play a game, okay? So here's the game. Ready? Okay, you go first. No, come on, go ahead. You go first. I know, but just go first, okay? See, it doesn't make any sense. If I don't give you any rules to the game, there's no point in playing the game. If there's no guidelines to this game that we're about to play, then it's actually not even fun at all to play the game if you don't have any rules or regulations. So what we're talking about here is that God has a really awesome way of not having too many rules where it's binding and oppressive and things like that, and not having not enough rules where it's just chaos, like we hear in the Bible stories about, like Nineveh and things like that. So God's guidelines and God's rules or laws or whatever they are in the Bible, or kind of the moral compass that God gives us in the Bible, those are there more so like rules to a board game, or a treasure map and guidelines to find the treasure at the end. X marks the spot. And so the reason that they're there is actually so that we could live a life more fulfilled, not that we're not allowed to do certain things. And that's just why we see in the Bible, there's the 10 Commandments, and the 10 Commandments are 10 things that tell you what not to do. And when Jesus comes, he says that he's fulfilled the law and that he has 2 commandments now. And these 2 commandments, instead of telling us what not to do, they tell us what to do. And so they tell us to love God and to love others. And so those are the guidelines, is to love God and love others. And if we follow those, we actually live a more fulfilled life than if we didn't have any rules at all. And that's the whole point of this message. And we hope you enjoyed. We love you. We'll see you next week. Later.